Rosie O'Donnell goes on CNN and blasts the Trump administration and Project 2025 for ruining the country, ruining the Constitution. And she blames Trump and Project 2025 for the reason why herself and her non-binary child had to leave the country and flee to Ireland. Yes, I'm not making this up. Take a listen.
Rosie, thanks so much for joining us. As you know, some people entertain the idea of moving abroad after the 2024 election. You actually did it. Tell us about your experience so far, and do you have any regrets?
I have no regrets. Not a day has gone by that I thought it was the wrong decision. I was welcomed with open arms. I knew after reading Project 2025 that if Trump got in, it was time for me and my non-binary child to leave the country. And although I was not one of the celebrities who announced that that's what I would do, I made the decision within my family and my therapist. And
okay, listen. I mean, first, it's such like it's almost like a meme at this point, right? She talks about her non-binary child. She has to leave, and she had to make the decision with her family and her therapist. You know, it's almost as if therapists exasperate the mental issues in people. Now, okay, I'm not talking. I know that there are some people who legitimately might need a therapist, like legitimately mentally ill individuals. I mean, I could see that happening, but you know, it seems like every time you hear someone like this talk, they hold their therapist in some revered spot in their life, almost as if they're some sort of god. And I really believe that this is why there are so many people who are messed up. Drugs. And when I talk about drugs, I'm not talking about illegal drugs. I'm talking about pharmaceutical drugs, overprescribed drugs. And this idea that therapists somehow are wizards and can take all your problems away. And they are just the most wise people in society. This, I'm sorry, I don't believe is the case, but yes, she's going on here about Project 2025 and how herself and her non-binary child had to flee.
Should he win? And then when he did, we made the plan into action, and we were gone before he was inaugurated.
Smart.
You've been a long-time critic of this Trump administration and a target of President Trump, for that matter, as well. What has it been like?
You know, this is what it really is about, the fact that she got burned so bad. And, you know, I almost feel bad for Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, from the very start of Donald Trump's rise to power, Rosie O'Donnell has been absolutely just smoked within the MAGA crowd. And it's almost you know, it almost makes me feel bad for Rosie O'Donnell because, I mean, from way in the start of his 2016 campaign, he just slammed Rosie O'Donnell. But that's what this is probably really actually about. So she has deep-seated bitterness in her heart for Donald Trump. And, you know, can you blame her? I almost don't blame her. I see this lady, and every time I see her on TikTok or a video of her, she looks older, she looks grouchier, and she just looks like someone who is not enjoying her life. And of course, she's going to have this perspective, but it's just so funny, the hyperbole of it all.
Watching the last few months unfold from abroad.
It's been heartbreaking, I have to tell you. I knew that if I was in the United States and watched him destroy the country and the Constitution and really pay no mind to any of the laws that the founders stood by and that our country stands for as a beacon of shining light and freedom for the rest of the world. That should he do what the Heritage Foundation said he was going to do in that Project 2025, that we were going to be in big trouble. And it's as bad as they promised and even a little bit worse. And it's been heartbreaking and personally very, very sad to watch.
See, I have the opposite view here. See, I wish they implemented more of this Project 2025 playbook. Now, of course, during Donald Trump's during his campaign, he swore up and down that he was not going to implement any of the Project 2025. I believe there are parts of it that are being implemented, which I think is good, but they need to do more. They need to do more. So she's saying they're doing everything they promised and more. I'm like, okay. So first of all, if they are actually doing everything they promised and more, there you go. Donald Trump, he's delivering on his promises. So that's a very glowing endorsement to Donald Trump, not for her, but to the millions and the majority of Americans who voted for Donald Trump. So there you go. Right out of the horse's mouth, right out of the Grinch's mouth. Donald Trump is carrying through with his promises, but I think he's not implementing enough of Project 2025. But at least he's doing some of it. When I first saw that he was trying to distance himself from Project 2025, I was like, that kind of sucks. It's a good document. There's a lot of very well thought out plans in Project 2025, and at least he is doing some of it. But what do you guys think? What do you think of Rosie O'Donnell crying to CNN about the fact that herself and her non-binary child had to flee the United States, go to Ireland, and she had to discuss all of this with her therapist? Now that I think of it, maybe she does need a therapist ever since what happened to her back, when Donald Trump first ran for president. That might have something to do with it. But these types, she probably had a therapist even before then. Because it seems like all these Hollywood types and theater types, they all have therapists. Which, whatever, you do you. But I don't think a therapist is something that should be, permanent. If you know what I'm saying, if you're having a hard time with a certain thing, I think, maybe you can have a therapist and work that out. But to have a permanent therapist for like your entire life, to me, that seems just kind of like a scam. And once again, I'm sure there are edge cases where maybe a permanent therapist would be, necessary. But that's just my rant for today. But thank you guys for watching the video. Make sure to like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of Rosie O'Donnell down below. And we will see you on the next one.